Welcome to the Little Brain Campaign. I'm Dr. Lauren LaRose, a child and adolescent psychiatrist.
And I'm Jessica Eisenstadt, a licensed professional counselor.
We're here to be straight with you about children's mental health.
And we're not afraid to challenge the trends that are out there about anything related to kids.
And we're not afraid to challenge each other either.
If you're looking to be validated from two moms that are in the trenches, you're in the right spot.
Yep, no fluff here. Just some honest conversation with a side of sarcasm.
Let's get into it.
Hello, Big Brains. Thanks for joining us on the Little Brain Campaign. We are your hosts, Lauren.
And Jessica.
And we are here with Carrie Pitchford. And Carrie, I'm going to let you introduce yourself and tell us about your career because I don't want to do you any injustice there. So please go ahead.
Thanks. I really appreciate you guys for having me on. I grew up in North Carolina, and I quickly moved after college to Atlanta, Georgia, where I taught ESOL, English as a second language, for elementary school children. I taught third grade, fifth grade, first grade, all of the things. And then I became what is known in Atlanta, Georgia as a curriculum support teacher, which is kind of a teacher of the teachers, kind of a coach, an educational coach, if you will. I did that for a few years, and then I became an assistant principal, and then did that for a few years, and then became an elementary school principal. So I did that for 7-8 years, and then we decided that we wanted to move back to Raleigh, to North Carolina, to be closer to our family. And so that is when I decided, because of moving here and being very confused by all of the school choices and just hearing I think because there are so many choices here, which is wonderful, but you hear a lot of just lot of things, a lot of chatter about all of the different types and which one's better and all of the things. And so I just thought, you know what, I really would like to not only help parents, but to really make sure that they understand what they're hearing and making sure that they're getting facts when it comes to schools, because the bottom line is I'm an advocate for teachers. I'm an advocate for educators. So I want to be able to, support parents in finding a school that is a good fit. So that is what I've been doing for the last couple of years. And, I am working my way potentially to get back into the school system a little bit. I miss that collaboration. I miss the energy that a school brings. But I really enjoy helping parents and so forth right now. So that is what I've been doing.
Love that.
Okay, very cool. And you were telling me that you also do or did some workshops for parents. I think you said it was through the eyes of an educator.
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I was asked actually by the community and some of the local churches to do some parent workshops that would just help parents understand what to look for in a school. This was actually in Atlanta, Georgia, when I was a principal. But to also just gain a better and a different maybe perspective of the way that schools function. I think that there is a lot of, or can be a lot of, misconceptions about what happens in a school and what principals are allowed to do and teachers and, all of the things. And after I'd read all of these different books about how we need to support kids, I thought, you know what, which everyone else knows, we can't do it alone. It is not just the educator's responsibility. It is also the parent and the community. It does take a village. So I thought, let's do some workshops and be able to just inform parents, let them see the school through kind of a different lens than they're probably used to, so that they can kind of have maybe a little bit more empathy, maybe just a different perspective can be helpful as well, especially when your child is starting elementary school and you're thinking like, am I doing the right thing? Is this normal? Is it not? Of course, what is normal? But so that's what I ended up doing, was a few of these workshops just to be able to, I just had 10 things. Everybody loves top 10 lists, right? So I just kind of thought about what are the 10 most important things that I would think, as an educator, that parents should know.
What are those 10 things?
Oh, okay. Let me see if I can remember all of them. First of all, reading, how important reading is. which, any educator knows, but I don't think that parents realize like the magnitude of how important it is. I think that a child, if you read with them for 20 minutes a night, they, can learn close to 3 million vocabulary words in a year. Whereas if you just read 5 minutes a night, you get about 300,000.
Wait, hold on.
Okay.
20 minutes a night. What age?
I mean,
birth.
it's not them reading. They do not
No,
have
I'm
to read.
aware. No. But like
You know?
my kids, I don't think they would. They just get so distracted.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? Okay.
Yeah. Well, and my son does, my daughter didn't. So I think you kind of have to learn how to be a little bit flexible, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there are nights where, I'm not sitting here with a time watch and, saying, oh, we didn't get that 20 minutes in. Okay, but I think that it's just letting you realize and understand, there's a goal out there to try to, maybe even read a little bit of a chapter book and talk about it. Even having those discussions about it gives you that vocabulary that, potentially you wouldn't get if you weren't reading a lot, right?
Yeah,
so, the importance of reading, being able to support the children being independent. That is a huge thing. I think that we, really sometimes we think that, oh, they're just in first grade, they're just in kindergarten, they can't do. I need to do this for them. And my favorite book of all time, The Gift of Failure, by Jessica Leahy. She is amazing, and I was really just that book really made a huge impact on me, and it kind of guided you through to say, like, yeah, kids can do it. We need to stop doing for them.
Yep.
They need to do it themselves, and if we help them to say, we believe in you, we trust in you, you need to be more independent, that's going to help the teachers in the classroom, so that the kids aren't always relying on this teacher to, like, you answer the question, or a classmate, or, you do this, or you get my book, or you figure out what it is. And when they get stuck with a problem or in curriculum or whatever, they can have a little bit more grit, which a lot of our kids don't have nowadays, right?
Yeah.
And
so, okay. Okay, so I know that, like, basically what you're getting at is, like, the dangers of helicopter parenting, right?
Yeah.
And rescuing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell us, like, okay, so debrief us, like, we kind of know, but, for everybody else, like, what are the dangers of helicopter parenting?
Or what is it? Define it.
What is helicopter parenting? What are the pitfalls?
I think that, it is not teaching our children to be independent. It is not giving our children opportunities to fail. It is fixing everything for them. And so therefore they do not know. It's kind of like, where you, simplifying it to say, like, how would you truly know joy without pain? How does a kid really know that they can do it without, if you don't let them, if they don't have that, oh my God, or I messed up but I recovered, and they, in a lot of the research and stuff, they say, like, we don't want kids to keep striving for things and trying to be perfectionists and trying to be the best and having these parents do everything for them. We want them to thrive. We want them to know that they have this confidence, and they can actually, do it themselves. Things themselves. The implications of that are long term. And so I think that a lot of times what I have to say to myself as a parent is I have to say, I am parenting for the future, not for today. And that is really how teachers, a lot of times, when they are teaching, their daily routines, and they're teaching procedures and expectations and, all of the things, they are trying to teach to help these kids in the future, not just for the moment. And that is what we need to do more as parents. We need to kind of think, okay, this is going to sting a little bit because, Johnny he forgot his lunch, and he's going to have to go without his lunch today, versus I'm going to bring it to him. I'm going to do everything for him and not have him feel what it feels like when he forgets, when he messes up. It's okay. I think that it's really important that we are allowing kids to mess up and to learn from it.
And I think like this lunch example is perfect. It's like if the expectation is known, right? It's clear, you understand it, you've retained it, you can repeat it, right?
Yeah.
If the expectation is before you leave the house, go grab your lunch, and every other day you grab your lunch, and today you didn't grab your lunch, that like you can rescue it, and
Sure.
what will result is, oh well, I can just I'll forget it tomorrow. It just doesn't become a priority.
Yeah, you don't learn. And I
Yeah.
think that, my son has ADHD, so I am learning about the differences between a disability and trying to support that and rescuing and helicoptering, right? Fixing. So because that can be that, at least for
It's
me,
confusing.
with my daughter, it was easy. She doesn't have ADHD, and it's like, here are the expectations. This is what, my son, like, bless him, I have to repeat things a lot. I have to, kind of pick my battles. I have to figure out, what matters, what doesn't, things like that. But
like if you had, so if you have a kid who retaining information is difficult, okay?
Sure.
And it's repeating, it's like just being intentional about how you're accommodating for that diagnosis. It's like, okay, visual, like what, so you got to go do a check off. You got to, something, but the expectation's still the same.
Still the same. And you're essentially scaffolding.
Yes.
I love the visual
like
of the ladder. It's just like, you're just kind of putting in some of the different steps just to make sure that they can be successful with a little bit more help, right? That whole, equity versus equality. What I always say, like, what is fair is not always equal. So I'm going to treat my kids differently, but I want to make sure that the expectation is still there, and I'm setting them up for success in the future, and I'm not doing everything for them, because my worst fear as a parent is your child going off to college or trade school or whatever it is, and they don't know how to function. I mean, that's, then have you done your job, I guess, is the question, right? Just like a teacher, if your child doesn't learn the curriculum, if your child doesn't, do whatever you're asking, have you done your job, to the best of your ability as a parent? If they are not doing the things where they can be successful without you and understand these things, are you, how successful do you feel,
And I think another like part of that is, whatever like scaffolding that you're providing, is it like, can it be replicated? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Right.
Like it's, anyway, so that's just something.
So how do you feel like helicopter parenting has played out in like, how is it affecting kids at school, in the classroom, learning? How is it affecting the teachers? What do you see?
I just think that there is, students don't have any grit anymore. I feel like they just literally fall apart when problems happen, because they're used to someone fixing.
Or just anything uncomfortable,
Anything uncomfortable. Anything uncomfortable. And so they're going to do whatever it takes to not be uncomfortable. So it could mean that they're acting out, or it could mean that they're, avoiding things, or it could mean, some negative things, especially for the teacher. So I think that, I think that is a problem. I think also, if you're a helicopter parent, I feel like there is a lack of trust. I don't think you can do it better. And I don't know if anyone else can do it better than I can, and I can make sure that things are done. And I think that then it's a domino effect, and I think it rolls into education, where then maybe we're not trusting educators as much as we should. I say all the time, it saddens me, the lack of respect that educators have and get, just from our country. And I would never walk into a doctor and start questioning everything that they do because I've read something on WebMD. I'm going to say, you do know more. Now, sure, get a second opinion. We're all learning. We're all evolving. But that trust is gone. It's almost like I can do it better.
And I think that like modeling that kind of like black and white, right or wrong attitude or philosophy, then like what does that do? It then like molds into the kid that, oh, well, you're not doing it like my parent is, so your way
Right.
is wrong.
Right.
And so now I only think there's one way to get to B instead of,
Right, right. And then they stop listening to the teacher, because the parent is saying, this is kind of how I do it, which is why, in the one of the 10 things that I always say is the relationship between the teacher and the parent is just vital. It is completely critical for the success of the child. And there has to be that trust. There has to be that clear communication. We need to stop making assumptions that, the teacher, just didn't want to respond to my email or didn't read this, or whatever it is, and just start opening up those lines of communication and saying, like, I trust you that what you are saying, is true, and I want to be able to collaborate with you and work together, and, you're working for the same goal, is to help the kid. The teacher's not there to not help the kid, right. So being able to kind of have that trust and working together is just huge. And I feel like that a lot of times when you have a parent that can be overbearing and is doing everything for the child and is, not allowing the child to express themselves and to be able to handle their own problems. I learned very quickly when my daughter was in therapy, because she was very anxious, the therapist said there are clay problems and rock problems. If there's a clay problem, that means you can handle it. You just need to kind of mold it, figure it out. I can help you with it because we can, we can do that together. It's fixable. But there are some rock problems that a parent needs to get involved in. That it is not, you can't mold it, you can't fix it. But I think that too often, if you're a helicopter parent, you're fixing all problems. It doesn't matter if it's a little problem, big problem, rock problem, whatever, right? And so a kid is just going to run to their parent and have them come in at probably a level 15, when maybe it really doesn't need to be that. I always say, like, if your child comes home and said something, like, maybe wait to send the email like the next day, or like maybe 3 hours later, or or call 3 hours later, because sometimes you need to kind of sit with it for a minute and realize that I might not have all the information.
That, and then it's like, if you're modeling a big reaction to a small problem, then that's exactly how your kid's gonna react, or learn.
Well, and okay, so I don't know if this is because of the wave of helicopter parenting. I don't know why this is happening, but to me it seems like, okay, we had this huge wave of helicopter parenting. Maybe we're still in it. I don't know. And so schools and teachers have had to respond by now deferring to parents a lot, because you have all these angry, very vocal parents, very involved parents, and so then it's there's a lot of responsibility being put on parents to manage things that are happening at school. I know for me, I've kind of gone through this myself. When I send my kids to school or camp, I'm to the teacher, you're the boss. This is your classroom. This is your cohort. I want you to I trust you. I want you to manage it. I'm not there. I don't know the ins and outs of it. I want you to be in charge. I want to empower the teacher. But I think schools have gotten so accustomed to having to tiptoe around parents' feelings and stuff that they've kind of like lost that ability, or maybe it's not the ability, they've lost like the freedom to be empowered and be in
they're
control.
Scared.
They're scared.
To not do it. And so I think sometimes they're over communicating.
Yeah.
Which takes a lot of time and a lot of time away from instruction and being with the kids, because they're so nervous that if a parent doesn't get this email or doesn't get a phone call, or if it, and because everybody is different. And so, there are different expectations, because you could be a teacher and you could have half of the parents are like you, and then the other half are expecting that phone call. And if you don't give it, then next thing you know, they're going to the principal, they're going over their head, they are, and then, it trickles, right? Because then they start talking to their neighbors and their friends, and they're like, Miss So-and-so is not great. And, it's the whole thing. But it's kind of how I like to, when I'm helping my clients find schools, it's everybody is different and they have different needs, which is why it's important to be able to communicate and to have that partnership. So it is very clear at the very beginning, if you need that, then that's fine. That is what's going to make you happy, and it's going to have a good partnership, and you're going to feel like it's a good school and a good teacher and all the things. But that might not be what someone else wants or even needs. So that doesn't make the other part bad, not as good. It just means that it's different.
Yeah.
But I would like to try to, encourage parents more to just let go. You're not letting go does not mean not caring. It just means trying to help our children to be better than what maybe even what we had,
Right. And it's trusting yourself that you did what you needed to do to give them this space to practice being autonomous or whatever.
Right. And being okay with it. And sometimes that's where I think that, kids and the parents of the kids, your friends, are so important to be able to say, like, hey, it's not going to feel great the first time that you do blank. I mean, I remember when I had a newborn, and I remember my friends saying, when my newborn would cry, sometimes they need to cry. So I would actually go outside, literally leave the house so that I didn't hear my child crying. And I had to do that because otherwise it was just unbearable. And I think that's the same thing for the feeling that you get as a parent when you let them fail, you see them fail. It is a very visceral, your heart hurts for them because you're like, I know that they, might not have a friend anymore, or they might have failed that test, and they might now get a bad grade, or they might this or that or whatever. But what the lessons that they are learning are just invaluable. And if we're taking that away from them, we're just really doing a disservice, I think, to our kids.
And they're not learning it when
trying to help them.
Yeah, they're not learning it while they're kids, and then they're having to learn it as adults, which is much harder to do.
Right.
Okay, can you tell us a little bit about, the business that you have now? What are you doing? How do people come to you? Where are these families coming from? Give us some more information about that.
All over. I would say that about 75% right now, I think, just because of since I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina, and a lot of people are moving here, most of my clients are actually from out of country. I have a lot of clients from, Finland and Sweden and Saudi Arabia and Canada and, just all over. But so either they are from, they are moving to this area, or from out of state moving to this area, or they currently live in Wake County and they just have really young kids and they're just trying to navigate all of the different options, And so having been in public school and then and being an educator, but then moving to Wake County and then seeing all of the different options and hearing, I feel like everybody's it's almost as if they're pitting themselves one against the other. It's just like charter schools, magnet schools, public schools, year-round schools, private schools. There are all these options, which is wonderful. But there is this just understanding of these parents moving in that I should just look at great schools and see how my school is faring, and then or potential school, and then and I need to find the best school, because that's the only thing that's going to make a difference in my child's success. And I disagree wholeheartedly with that. And so I thought, let me try to educate parents on what to look for in schools, and just to talk a little bit about the research, because the majority of my parents that come, they believe certain things, right? They believe that the great schools, report card ratings, however your state, basically judges schools, that is the end all be all, and that defines a school without having to look in any further, right? And they also think, and they make assumptions about, things from class sizes to, location to demographics and so forth. And so I like to be able to bring in some research, some actual data that says, here are the statistics, when it comes to this particular school that you're looking at, but also knowing that, research actually shows that if you take out the socio-demographic like the status of a student population, you literally took kids from, private schools, public schools, charter schools, magnets, all of the schools, but you took out that socioeconomic piece, then public schools are actually faring better. They perform better than the charter schools and the private schools. And so I think, part of that is I'm not to, promote public schools over charter or private, but it's to have the conversation around the importance of you as a parent and your impact as a parent and your situation as a parent. And when parents rely solely on this school, as the end all be all, as my child is in kindergarten, and if they don't get into this school, then they are not going to go to Harvard, type of mentality, then, we're thinking about it all wrong. Because their kids, and a lot of my clients, I say, like, your kids are already winning. They have won the lottery because they have parents who care. They have parents who are reading to them and giving them experiences. They are in the middle to upper class, that demographic. Like, they are already winning. Their school is not going to make or break a child that much. There's no way that a school will do that. So my goal is to really educate them in general, just about how to view schools, but then also specifically, about certain schools here.
So why do you think public schools are faring better?
I have a question though, because so like charter, magnet, public, I feel like that those words can mean different things in different regions.
They can.
So I think step one,
break that down.
So the way that charter, you can have a full system, like a district-wide charter system. You can also have individual charters. Do you have a system?
No, we have individual charters. But in terms of like public, it's selective under Orleans Parish, right? Like Willow, Franklin, they're not charters. They're under Orleans Parish, and then Leah Chase. You know what I mean?
Yeah, our system is so complicated.
It's so complicated.
So complicated.
But we
actually have very few traditional public schools.
We don't. I mean, maybe in Jeff
that are just
Jeff
you go to the school in your district. Like very few.
They do in Jeff. So Jeff Parish runs like that.
Yes.
Orleans, they don't have any. Even like Willow, they're like state funded. I guess they are, but it's like selective. So it's still through the same system.
Okay. So is it through lottery? It's all lottery.
Yes, all lottery.
Yes. Even the selective one. So if you happen to get Willow, you got to also test in to get in. There's a couple of schools like that.
Yeah.
But the rest is lottery. There's no in our parish.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm shocked. Yeah, usually when, you're using those state local funds, you kind of have to abide by the state local kind of rules, and because you can't say I'm going to use state funds and then not let kids that are in the state in, or they say discriminate against race, color, religion, all of the things. But I mean so yes, here in Wake County, the way that we have it defined is that they have charter schools, which are separate, but it is only lottery based. You do not have to take another test to get in. It is solely based on lottery. They do have tiers for if your staff and siblings and things like that to get in, but it's not based on behavior, academics. Things like that. Magnet schools, you can go if it's essentially a base school, but you can also apply to go there. And the way that the magnet schools work is it's a theme. It's a type of theme. And then they are essentially trying to diversify the school more. So but it's a socioeconomic diversity so that they're wanting. So if you live in a high socioeconomic area, then you have top priority to attend that magnet school.
So they're on a military base? Is that what you mean by base?
No, sorry. A
Base.
base school is like a zone school. It's just your
Oh,
public.
like zip code?
Okay.
Like zip code?
Okay.
Yes,
Like a certain
yes.
district
Oh,
or whatever.
yeah.
Okay.
But then
Yeah.
if you're rich, they want you more?
Yeah.
Ain't that some shit?
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us. Okay, so back to the question. Tell us
sorry.
why public schools are faring better.
Wait,
Or why you think-
no.
wait, I'm sorry.
Magnet, what's the difference between magnet and public then?
Magnet is a public. It's kind of
Oh.
like it's like in math when they say like square
Right.
is rectangle. Your public schools are magnet year round and base. Those are the terms that you use for public schools.
Okay.
That just means that anybody can go there as long as you live in the zone.
Okay, got it.
You might be attending a year-round school. You might be attending a base school. You might be attending a magnet school. That's just what you are zoned for. Charter school is lottery.
Yes.
Okay.
And then private school is application.
It's private.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
But I think, again, personally, in my opinion, I think that, the public schools are faring better because they are having, well, first of all, sometimes, I don't know about your state, but in some states, they actually do pay the public school teachers better than private schools.
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
That's the same here. Yep.
So it depends on how big, the private schools are, obviously, and how much they can pay staff. So that could have an impact in terms of getting, some better caliber of teachers.
Yeah.
Right.
But I don't know. I think that there is something to say for actual standards and the mentality of typically, I hate when people make assumptions and make generalizations. However, I'm getting ready to do it. I think that the most part, the teachers who are going into a public school, knowing that you have the haves and the have-nots and kids who need challenge, but kids who are struggling, kids who are second language, kids who have disabilities, they have it all, right?
Yeah.
And you want to go in there and you want to make a difference with all of the kids.
Yeah.
I think there's something more to that. I think that is a game changer in terms of your passion, your commitment, and when you versus, and again, hate to necessarily
Whatever.
but when you're in a private school, all the kids are typically the same.
Yeah.
In terms of academically,
Yep.
what they believe, all of the things, and it's easier. And I think that you can, it's interesting because I was reading an article about it, and they were saying that essentially that research was saying that parents in private schools don't like to kind of, put down their private school, right? Because they are essentially paying for it. So I always I associate it with I like to use the example of a nice purse. If you buy a really nice purse that is, $1,000 and it starts fraying, you're going to cover that up. You're going to act like it didn't even happen. You're going to do whatever it takes. People are going to say, "Oh, I love your bag. Do you love it?" I'm going to love it. I love my bag. And you just, it doesn't matter. You're not going to say the kind of the ugly side because you are paying for it.
Yeah.
And if you are paying for a subpar education, you're an idiot. Right?
Yeah.
And they don't want to be viewed as an idiot. So I'm not going to put down that school. I'm not going to say anything bad about it, even if I'm unhappy, because I'm paying for it. Whereas a public school or, all the public schools, your magnet, your base, even charter, you're not paying for it. So what do you have to lose? You don't have anything to lose. And you're not going to say, you can say anything you want. It doesn't really matter. So I think that, having those teachers that really, are committed and knowing how to differentiate, because they have to. You have different kids in that class. You can't just teach to one population. It's not going to work.
And those schools have the resources and support.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
To accommodate those kids.
Yeah. And to support teach, it's just a whole.
You have your second language teachers, your special education teachers, you have assistants, you have,
Interventionists.
all kinds of things. And I think that if they don't have certain things, I think that personally, in my experience, that the public schools do a better job with having the kids to be independent and saying, like, you got this. I believe in you. We need to make sure that we are open-minded, that we are problem solvers, that we are critical thinkers, that we are, and letting you do it, kid, rather than let me try to, call your mom, or let me try to meet your parent, or, whatnot. You're kind of making sure the kid is getting what they need.
Less coddling.
I mean, that's like full circle, I feel. Yeah. This conversation. This was great. And you're going to be like a repeat guest. So buckle up.
Please. Please and thank you.
Of course. I love talking about schools. I love talking about kids. And like I said, my heart goes out to all the educators out there. They just work so hard. And and parents do too. I mean, if there was a way that, we would know how to do things the perfect, best way, then, I'd be a millionaire. But
well, let's help you be a millionaire, and tell the people how to find you, how to get in touch.
The website is ncschools411.com. So that's the easiest way, and all my contact information is on there. But even if it's something where I'd love to be able to even help other districts and other, states, even just trying to look, how do you look at schools, right? Yeah. And really think about, like, how am I going to judge a school? How am I going to look at a school as a parent that is wanting the best for my child, and trying to make sure that I'm not taking away some of the struggle. That I just think it's so important to not put our kids in a bubble. They have to hurt a little bit to know the joy.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you
Carrie.
so much.
You are welcome. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, of course. It was great. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for hanging out with us today. Hopefully you're not alone, and we're all in the trenches together.
We're always here, so reach out and let us know what's driving you nuts. We got you. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review the Little Brain Campaign on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts.
Questions or topics you want us to tackle? Hit us up on all of our socials at the Little Brain Campaign. Keep trucking. You got this. We'll see you next week.
This podcast is for informational purposes only. Remember, no one size fits all. Always consult a professional for personalized advice.